Hello all and welcome, and I'm the MGTOW philosopher, and in this video I would like to discuss stigma and why it's such a good thing. Now I know what you might be thinking, but I'm not talking about the bullshit holes that are said to miraculously appear in people's hands and represent the crucifixion of Christ. No, that's stigmata. No, what I'm talking about is stigmatization, or stigmatizing things that are bad for society. Now, I think stigmatizing things gets a bad rap. You hear the left talking all the time about how stigma is bad, there should be no stigmas, everything should be acceptable, nothing should be looked down upon. Well, of course, when you're a leftist and you want to deconstruct Western society and destroy it entirely, well then, stigma is bad for you. Now let's look at some of the things in America that used to be stigmatized, but unfortunately no longer are. Now, if you're wondering what stigma is, it's when social pressure is applied to people via differing means, nasty looks, maybe insults, snide remarks, whispering about somebody behind their back, rumor mongering, things like that, to get that person to take a different path, to adopt a healthier behavior that is better for them in the future and better for society as a whole. Now, the number one thing that used to be stigmatized, but no longer is, you guessed it, being a big fat pig. Yes, being fat used to be bad, but it no longer is. Yes, it's wonderful to be fat. Now be fat and proud, ladies. Be a disgusting land whale, and people will love you. Of course, the left pushes this because it further distances them from men, women that is. And of course, the left wants to destroy relationships as much as possible, while at the same time putting people into relationships as much as possible so that they can get people to get married and then get divorced. And being fat is one of those things. Women who get married are often very skinny when they do, and then they just balloon up and become land whales. Now, of course, feminism in some ways has backfired on many a woman because they start out fat, and then they don't get a man, and then they get angry. But these women become the stormtroopers of the left, and they encourage women to become raging feminists. And many of these raging feminists encourage men to be so in the hopes that they can get into these women's pants. The ones that are not fat, that is. And being fat is a horrible thing. It's bad for your health. It's bad for society because it costs a lot more money. It creates lots of problems with being able to get around. It leads to diseases. You're more likely to get cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and people used to stigmatize this. Hey there, fatty. How you doing? You're so fat, you could have your own moon. There were so many wonderful jokes and insults you used to be able to use against fat people, and it was perfectly acceptable. And I remember when I was a kid, there weren't that many fat people. I think we had like 2 in my entire grade in high school. I mean, there just weren't any fat people around. You looked around, no fat people. And of course today, that would be like, holy shit, where the fuck are the fat people at? What happened to them? But back when I was a kid, it was normal for you not to be fat. If you were, it was a really, really rare instance. It was like, holy shit, she's a fucking blob, because it was so uncommon. Oh, but nowadays, it's like every other person is a walking land whale. Look at all these fat bitches. And you can't say anything either. Now, of course, I'm not saying be so obnoxious that if you're standing in line at McDonald's and you're skinny and some other person is fat, that you say to them, hey, fatty, get out of here. You shouldn't be eating here. You should be going home and having a salad. No. But the occasional snicker as you pass this person, or a derisive look on your face, perfectly acceptable. Stigmatize that shit. Stigmatize that cellulite. Fuck yeah. Nobody wants to look at that. That's the other thing. Really, it makes people sick. If somebody insults me with words, well, okay, that's sound insult. insult by sound. Now, if somebody insults me through vision, well, that's vision insult. I absolutely positively believe that being a big, fat, sloppy pig is an insult to other people, because if you go out in public, they have to look at you. That's bad. That's insulting. Good God, you are assaulting everyone. Oh, the left is talking about microaggressions and how words are violence. Holy shit. If sound, if sound can be an assault on another person, what the fuck is that 450-pound woman? I have to look at her. Holy shit, that's fucking assault on me and my corneas, for God's sake. So, all this supposed tolerance that we're supposed to have, fuck that. Stigmatize that shit to your heart's content. Another thing I don't like that used to be stigmatized but is now socially acceptable is women with tattoos. Where the fuck did this shit come from, huh? I mean, I know women want to be fucking men and everything, but Jesus Christ, this is some ugly shit. I mean, you see women walking around with 70-80% of the fucking body tattooed. It's hideous. These green and black tattoos of dragons and fucking lines swirling around their bodies up to their neck. Ugh, it's hideous, disgusting. Why would any man want to be with a woman like that? And of course, no man wants to. She's an avowed feminist, who 3 years before was a hottie, but then she got indoctrinated by one of the stormtroopers of the left, the giant fat women that started out fat at birth. Never had any man be interested in them. They grew up bitter and angry, and then when they became adults, it was their job to spread the misery. They would call it spreading the love and spreading the knowledge. No, you spread misery, cunt, and you're making everybody else as miserable as you are. That's what they want. Misery loves company. And now she's this ugly, disgusting, tattooed troll of a woman with her head shaved. And what's that about? That's another stigma. Women used to have long fucking hair. They used to have long, beautiful locks of hair. Oh, you could run your fingers through it and smell it. Now you got fucking everybody's a cue ball. What's with this shit? Women are fucking cue balls with no hair. Jesus Christ, that is some hideous shit. And that used to be a big stigma. Women having short hair. Women did not have short hair. Now, you look around, all the women look like fucking Kojak. You can see a fucking reflection in their heads. What man wants to look at that? Jesus Christ. That used to be stigmatized too, and now it's perfectly acceptable for women to just cut off all their fucking hair and prance around all proud of the fact that they're cue balls. Ugh, my God. Makes me sick. It's ridiculous. And the tattoos, don't get me started on that. When you're having sex with a woman, you want to look at nice, smooth ivory skin, or whatever the fuck race, black skin, Hispanic, brown skin, whatever. But you want nice, smooth, untarnished skin. You don't want to look down at a fucking gremlin. I mean, what if she got a fucking gremlin on her back, or a dragon or some shit? Who wants to look at that? Or a giant snake? What is it with women and snakes? They want to get snakes all fucking coil around their legs and shit. Why do they want to do that? They think that's attractive? Do they really think that when you're banging her from behind, you want to look down at a fucking snake looking up at you? Yeah, I'm having sex with a snake. Oh, yeah, baby, that's a real fucking turn on for me. Get the fuck out of here. That's hideous. Don't women understand that this, well, of course, they're feminists. They're anti-man. Accept me as I am, or don't accept me at all. Okay, bye. I'll be with that woman over there who's happy, thin, and likes men, and I'm going to stay away from you. If you see a woman with these hideous body tattoos, and oh my God, if she's got them on her face, that's even worse. Snicker at her. Do one of those. Ugh. Do an ugh, too. Ugh. As you walk by her. And I hope you get a reaction. What are you? What's your problem? You look like shit. That's the problem, honey. Look at all these fucking tattoos. I mean, it's not like you said anything. She asked what your problem was. I mean, you could give her a nasty look. Ugh. Maybe give a little, just a slightly perceptible, ugh. And then it'll get her attention because it takes nothing to trigger these people. And then she'd be like, what's your problem? You man, you. My problem is you, bitch. You're a hideous eyesore. You're insulting my eyes. You're triggering me with your hideousness. I mean, honestly, if words can trigger and words can be the equivalent of violent action, then by the same token, ugly images can also be violence against me. And I can react, at least with words. Guys, don't have anything to do with women like this. All these things need to be stigmatized again. Please. And what about piercings? When did women have piercings except in their ears? Now, women, it used to be acceptable to have a pierced ear, of course. Maybe a piercing, one piercing. Then for some reason I don't understand, women started piercing their ears more than once. I mean, I've seen these women with 4, 5, 6 piercings on one ear. They like start at the earlobe and then they go up and into the fucking cartilage. It's like, what the fuck are you trying to prove, bitch? You trying to prove you can handle pain? Please. Get the fuck out of here. You're trying to prove something? What are you trying to prove? That you're an individual? That you're different? It's just hideous. I don't know how anybody could find... Well, no, nobody does find that attractive. Now, another one of the things, the bigger things that used to be stigmatized but no longer is single mothers. Single mothers. Single mothers used to be heavily, heavily stigmatized. You could not have a kid if you weren't married. Hell, if you had a kid when you weren't married, your mom would be sending you off to the convent and she'd be telling all the friends, oh, she went away to school for the year. Yeah, went away to school, all right. You went away to have your baby in a nunnery. And then that baby, after you rested for a couple weeks, would be given away to some family that you don't know and you'll never know, and you'll never see that baby again. And then once you've recovered, you go home to your mom and dad, and you look fine like nothing ever happened to you. That's how it used to be. It used to be a shameful thing to have a child out of wedlock. Now, Murphy Brown said it's okay, so why not, right? And lo and behold, 20 years later, yeah, every fucking woman is having kids without a husband. Sure, why not? It's fashionable now. Fucking A. When I was a kid, there weren't no pregnant women. There weren't no pregnant girls in my school. They didn't have them. You didn't, no way. Nowadays, they got fucking nurseries in the school. You go to school, you walk in, and you look to your right, and there's a fucking nursery with a bunch of kids playing, and their mommies are in second period math class. What the fuck? And now it's a taxpayer burden? And that's perfectly acceptable? When did that become acceptable, huh? Oh, we can't stigmatize things. Yes, because the left, as I said before, want to destroy society. You see, things that used to be stigmatized were stigmatized because they disrupted and eroded the bedrock foundations of our society, of our culture. That's why the left calls stigmatization and stigmatizing people for who they are, fuck off. They call it evil. Because you need to take away all the stigmas if you want to destroy society and Western culture. Of course, because that's the only way you're going to bring about the wonderful communist utopia that can't ever possibly exist. Now, another big thing that used to be a stigma was having sex before marriage. And oh, don't those guys love that one went the way of the dodo. But should we? I'm not so sure. Women having sex before they get married. Well, it certainly wasn't a good thing for women, that's for sure. It's debatable whether it was a good thing for us. And if you like having sex with a lot of women, it definitely was good for us. Of course, you could have sex with lots of women back then as well. Maybe not as easily as now. Again, debatable point. But regardless, I've always been whores and sluts, and there always will be. And back then you could argue that it was easier because it was forbidden fruit. But I digress. So nowadays, women just fuck whoever they want. They want to be like guys. They want to dress like guys. And on a side note, that used to be a big stigma too. Women wearing pants and dressing like men. This one annoys me, honestly. Women say they don't want to be men. Feminism's not about being men or replacing men. My ass it isn't, bitch. Then what the fuck are you dressing like a man for? Do you see me walking around in a dress? I mean, you should be wearing a fucking dress. You have your role in society. You're a fucking woman. See, this is all about tearing down traditional roles, traditional ideas, and what makes a culture so that it can be destroyed. And sex before marriage was no different. So, hey, a man no longer has to get married to have sex? Wow, well, let's not get married and let's have a lot of sex. Of course, they're still convincing people to get married by shaming men. It's amazing how well you can manipulate men if you just shame them and you play on their strengths and make them into weaknesses to get them to do what you want them to do. And I made a video about this just recently as to why men are still getting married. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. But yeah, that's another one that went the way of the dodo. Nowadays, just fuck whoever you want. No problem. Be as fat as you want. Be a land whale. No problem. And another one is trannies. I'm sorry. I know J. Edgar Hoover was a cross-dresser. Might as well have been a tranny. I mean, he must have been the ugliest fucking woman in the world. Can you imagine? Why don't you go look up a picture of J. Edgar Hoover? Can you imagine that fucking guy wearing fishnets and a dress and trying to put makeup on that craggly old fucked up face? He was probably getting banged in the ass, too. I mean, that's a nasty image. Oh, my God. Anyway, that's another one. Cross-dressing. Now, I know cross-dressing and trannies are not the same thing, right? My ass. What is a cross-dresser except a tranny that doesn't have the confidence, is too afraid to go out in public dressed up as a woman? Huh? They're the same fucking thing. You're both play acting at being something you ain't. The only difference is the trannies have been encouraged to go out in public, okay? And some of them have been stupid enough to lop off their dicks. Now, that's real stupid. And then later they kill themselves because they realize, oh, that surgery is permanent. And now I'm missing my cock. Where's my 45? And that's it for them. So that's another thing that really should have stayed stigmatized. We don't want to see men walking around dressed up as women. Keep that shit behind closed doors. We're not interested in looking at your hairy ass legs or your fat ass or seeing some fucking guy who's 57 years old and wants to play act as a 6-year-old girl and who's living with some couple and pretended to be a 6-year-old girl and he's dressing up in fucking dresses and he's getting banged by bikers. Talk about a fucked up world that we live in. All these things, except for maybe the sex before marriage one, should have stayed stigmatized, including women getting an education. What the fuck do they need an education for? Somebody please tell me what they need an education for. I would like to know. Because every job they do, a man can do better. A man can do much better every job they do. And if only men were working, there'd be men making a lot more money because they're far more productive than women. You wouldn't need as many positions. And then women could stay home and do what they do best. Bitch and moan and make my fucking sandwich and sew up the holes in my socks and raise the kids and clean the house and do the oh so onerous task of washing the fucking clothes, which involves nothing more than throwing them into a machine and pushing a button. I mean, that's about all they're good for. What do they need an education for, huh? So they can bitch and moan more cleverly? Hey, give me a fucking break that women need an education. All women are doing by ignoring the stigma against women getting educated is essentially taking jobs from men who could do the job better. Just look at the military as a perfect example. It takes 2 or 3 men to do what a woman does in the military. Oh, but we need women in the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and the Marines. Oh, yes, we need equality. Get the fuck out of here. We need women back home breastfeeding the kids, huh? And making sandwiches. That's what we fucking need. We don't need them getting an education. We don't need them thinking that they can essentially operate like an actual adult, all right? That they can make all the same decisions a man does and do it as well. No, they don't do anything as well as men. That's why they're women. They're like children, okay? We don't want them voting. We don't want them influencing society. We don't want them getting it into their heads that they can do things that men can do with their brains, like science and math and shit. I admit there are some outliers. There are some exceptions to the rule. That's why women should have the freedom to do whatever they want, but we should stigmatize it because it's not good for society. And look at what has happened to society now that we have destigmatized everything. It's fallen apart. It's a disaster. Stigmas are good, and we need to make these things, except for maybe the sex before marriage one, because we men want that. But all the other ones, of course, the sex before marriage didn't really affect us. We fucked around anyway. That was for women, because women really should be virgins when they get married. Well, no, maybe not. But they shouldn't be having a lot of sex before they get married. That's for sure, because men, even nowadays, don't want them. Women go out, they fuck around, they ride the cock carousel in their 20s and early 30s, and then they start looking for a husband, and surprise, surprise, nobody's interested. I wonder why. Women would do well to look at the stigmas of the past and understand that they existed for a reason, and they weren't just social constructs. They existed because they played to the preferences of men, and culture as a whole played to both men and women's preferences. Now women choose to ignore these things, and it's to their own peril. And they're not happy. Women are not happy. Women are much less happy than they used to be 50 years ago. And it's because they're trying to be men. Dressing up like men, wearing fucking pants. Give me a break. Dressing up like men, putting fucking piercings and everywhere on their body. Tattoos everywhere, cutting off their hair, short hair, getting all fat and shit. Hey, ladies, if a man's a fat slob, that doesn't mean you should be a fat slob trying to emulate him, okay? Men don't care about how they look. I don't care about how I look either. There's a difference, lady. We have money. We can earn money, and we can earn resources, and we can get richer and richer, and then good-looking women don't give a shit what we look like. Of course, we're not interested in you, so you're, of course, bitter and angry, and then you become a feminazi who indoctrinates other feminazis. Stigmatize them, men. Stigmatize them good. Stigma is a good thing. Trust me on that. Don't let the left tell you otherwise. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.